Welcome back to NOTIERS Frontiers Diaries. Today we're going to talk about one of our favorite roads in the whole world.
There's a lot of them, but...
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but this one is right here in the United States. It's in Utah. It's just perfect for everybody. It's called Escalante. And we hadn't really heard about it or knew what it was until we were already on it.
Is that when we were heading down UT12? Is that?
Yes. So it's called UT12, and it also has part of it that's 24 as well. And we were originally out there 7 years ago on what we call our maiden voyage. And that was our little trip around the Rocky Mountains when we first got the motorcycle. Mm-hmm. And we were in Moab. We had been visiting Arches and Canyonlands, and we were going to go to Bryce Canyon next, which is another national park. But we were just going to take the main highway to get there. We didn't know of any other road that would be better. And someone recommended, well, you have to go on Route 12. And we're like, okay, we didn't know what that was.
Yeah,
and
but
were they right.
Yeah, we like to take the advice of other people who have been there before us. I mean, there's surely a lot of boring roads. There's some magnificent gems out there as well. And so, yeah, the advice of others is always highly appreciated. So.
Absolutely. And this was one of our first times really traveling together as a couple on the motorcycle, and we first learned the value of taking people's advice of different roads. So fast forward 7 years later, and we find ourselves in Moab. We had just had a great time with Emiliano and Melissa. We'd gone through Canyonlands. We'd done Schaefer Pass. We had an amazing weekend, but they had to go back up to Salt Lake City, and so we were continuing south on our journey towards Arizona, where we would have our next Overland Expo. Mm-hmm. And we knew we wanted to take this road again because this is just one of the highlights of going out west for us on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And the first time we went out there, we passed by a state park that people had recommended that we go to called Goblin Valley.
I don't know if anybody recommended it to us. I just saw the sign for Goblin Valley. And who doesn't want to go to Goblin Valley, though, right? But, you know, it must have been the day or the mood, 7 years ago, where it was like, well, maybe we'll do Goblin Valley next time. And sure enough, now we're at next time. And someone did say, oh, make sure you stop by Goblin Valley because it's so cute. And the name kind of sticks with you no matter what the time frame spread gap is. But
yeah, and because it's a state park, we had just bought our national park pass. And so that covers our fees for entering into national parks. But since it was a state park, and we kept seeing signs for, it could be $20 or just other fees, we thought, well, should we really go? It's not covered in our national park pass. But it turns out that once we got there, it's only $10 for a motorcycle.
Maybe it was even like $7, I forget. But yeah.
Yeah, and so... Of course, totally worth it. Even for the $20 or more, it's completely worth it.
Like the ride there off the main highway, because it's right off the main highway, but it's like a 10-minute, 15-minute ride through some cool scenery, very, almost Monument Valley-esque, you know, where there's bluffs and there's not the chimneys and stuff, but just flat landscape. But very beautiful, twisty road.
All those colors of the desert, like the different reds and oranges.
And then you get to, you know, I guess it's called Goblin Village.
I think there's Goblin Overlook of Goblin Valley.
Goblin Valley, yeah, but there was like Goblin, you know, checkpoints, you know, because there's a few of them that pop up before you get into, you know, the valley.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, really cool. And like I saw a couple of these weird, like some of them look like, you know, the game pieces from Sorry, you know, so like, some of them, you know, it was just really kind of a cool, unique structure that, you know, you don't encounter on a day-to-day basis. And so when nature surprises you with different shapes and formations, it's always real fun. So we pulled over and I took, you know, 20 pictures of just one because it was really cool. And little
like
did
on the side of the road.
And then little did we know, you ride in and it kind of just dead ends at a parking lot. And there's a couple different detours you can do, and I think a loop or so, and there's some hiking.
There's tons of trails for hiking.
Yeah, but we paid our entrance fee. We got through. I took my pictures of the one. And then you get to this parking lot and it's just
an overlook of like the city of the Goblins.
Yeah. Well, what it reminded me of those like terracotta soldiers from China. Those, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
But not like, you know, like.
But nature's terracotta soldiers.
You know, of like half melted mushrooms that all stuck together. And toadstools and.
Yeah, it looks like stone toadstools.
Yeah.
Definitely like these creatures were trolls that had wandered out into the sun and got frozen in time. Some of them are quite large. So when you're looking at them from the overlook, they just look like there's zillions of them and that they're tiny. But once you get down in there, we decided to hike a little bit and go down into the valley, of course, to see the goblins. Some of them are really big, but they're all different shapes and sizes. None of them are the same.
Some of them, you know, it was kind of like Bryce Canyons and hoodoos and how fins are made versus hoodoos versus windows. You know, like it's all an erosion process of different sediment. Not going to get very boring here, but like, you know, when they erode and then they separate, you know, and they turn into little, you know, Sorry pieces, little pawn pieces, little bishop pieces, all these different shapes. And it's just really, really cool. And they're, you know, 14 feet tall, some of them, you know, and it was just...
And you can see the different stages of how they've eroded from the wind and from the different weather changes. So sometimes there will just be like windows, like holes taken out from the rock. And that's kind of like the beginning of it. And the wind will go through there and then it starts carving out into these kind of pillar-like formations. And I just really like the name too. The Valley of the Goblins.
For sure. I mean, we just felt like we were walking through Alice's Wonderland. You know? It's just very, very cool. So that was a cool little lunch spot that we ate, and then we got back on the road. And
then we had to look forward to Escalante as well. So our destination that night was going to be the town of Escalante, which is kind of in the middle of this whole Escalante drive. There's more to it, but this day we were just going to be going to the town of Escalante. But on the way, on this incredible road, you pass through another national park.
Capitol Reef.
And
there's like no, like there is an entrance. Last time I don't even think we saw the entrance, like the visitor center. But it's just this road. It is UT 12. that runs next to, it might be the Ute River, I forget, I don't know. It's a river that cuts its way through the park, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful drive. We did pass the visitor center that I saw this time. You don't have to pay for anything. We didn't have to show our little park pass or anything.
Yeah, you just drive through on the road. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I remember this road.
Yes.
Almost like the back of my hand. And I knew that these, petroglyphs were up on the right at some point in time. And we, when we pulled over and I saw the little deck going out with the little binocular things at the end, I said, that's where Rosie the Robot and all of her friends are. And sure enough,
the cool petroglyphs of these like really awesome looking people that were created, I don't know when, but by the Native Americans of the region.
Utes. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was the Ute people.
Yeah.
And first, coming into that park, it's a very moon-like landscape. And the colors really shift as you drive through. And I think the first time we went through, I wasn't aware of any of that. I was just like so awestruck by everything changing constantly and the scenery just engulfing me that I couldn't really keep track of all of these changes. But this time I had more wherewithal and I was keeping track. And so it started out very gray and white. And there were these kind of like, it almost looked like Star Trek alien planet ships that had crashed into the alien planet.
We just call them UFOs. Yeah.
UFOs.
We just do that.
Yeah, but they're not flying anymore. No. They're more like UCOs. They're unidentified crashed objects. But they're rocks that had been shaped in these crazy formations along the side of the road.
They're at like 45-degree angles.
And at these intervals, there's almost like a pattern of them, as if like a whole fleet of these starships had crashed
like
into the planet.
It was really cool.
It's very space-esque. And then once you get to Capitol Reef, it starts off with these white cliffs and white mountains, and by the time you get to the petroglyphs, everything has turned red
and it's green. And I can't remember, like the last time we rode through, there was still foliage and stuff, but like now we were riding through like those old like British countryside where the trees overlap and you're going through a tunnel of trees. It was just really,
it was a green time of year.
It was a green time of year.
Yeah, so just all those colors. You got the blue sky, you've got the red cliffs, you have the white mountains on one side, and you have a little river, you've got the green trees. Wow.
And the green grass grows all
amazing.
around.
And of course, it's usually very, very good weather out there. It's very deserty and arid, so it's usually a sunny day. And the road is perfect for motorcycles. It's twisty, it's windy.
It's wonderful.
It's paved to perfection. You don't get better than that, really. It's just one of our absolute favorites. You get to go through a national park without having to even like go through an entrance fee, and you still get to enjoy all of the
And it's not too crowded.
scenery.
It's not, jammed with traffic, which is nice.
Right. Oh, just stunning.
Yeah.
So we made it through Capitol Reef, and we headed out to our destination that night, which was the town of Escalante.
And we called ahead of time trying to find cheap hotels because we're on a budget. But
Moab was so booked, we knew we had to book something.
Well, and same here. I just didn't want to spend. I think this was a day trip away from Moab, and I called, 4 or 5 different places because there was some weird Outland Fest or some crap going on that weekend, and I had to call 2 or 3 hotels. But I found one. It was called Cowboy Hotel.
It was Country Cowboy Country Inn.
It had those, silhouettes of the cowboy and the cowgirl with their hat down and off. But it was nice and cheap, and she gave us a good price, and
Yeah, it was a fantastic place to stay, and it's a very small town.
Yeah.
So we had that reservation beforehand, which we were very thrilled about.
We never do. But I would hate to pull in and just spend the next 2 hours looking for somewhere reasonable to stay. But.
Yeah, and that area is quite remote. Yes, it has this incredible road with this incredible drive, and there's been a lot that has popped up because of that, but it's through a lot of parkland. Yeah. So it's not completely built up. So this town was one of the only places that we could find to stay overnight.
Yeah.
And we were able to get clean. Yeah. Hadn't had a shower in quite a while.
This is true.
There's sandstorms and everything. So
there was that little burger joint we stopped at.
Yeah, we were so hungry. This place is called Nemo's Restaurant.
Oh, yeah. And it had UFOs and stuff on it. Speaking of extraterrestrial.
Terrestrial.
Yes. Extraterrestrial.
Yes.
More terrestrial than the average. But
yes, that's right. They had really good burgers. They had sweet potato fries.
Yeah. We were tired from the day, and it was a very good day, but we just wanted something quick to eat. And then we went to our hotel. We got clean. We laid on this giant bed, which was amazing. And
we were very, very happy.
Yes.
So I want to wish everyone out there happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And happy Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or whatever you may be celebrating. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and a wonderful holiday season. And thank you for watching this video.
And thank you to all of our Patreon members.
Yes.
And this very awesome. Thank you for supporting us.
And I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. Ding, ding. And we will be seeing you very soon with our next episode where we go to a place with many hoodoos.
Ooh, and who don't. Yes. Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.